Right here in this little pamphlet. The truth about Negroes and foreigners. The truth about the Catholic Church.
Do you believe in that kind of talk?
I don't know. Makes pretty good sense to me.
And I tell you, friends, we'll never be able to call this country our own until it's a country without. Without what? Yeah, without what? Without Negroes. Without alien foreigners. Without Catholics. Without Freemasons. You know these people.
What's wrong with the Masons? I'm a Mason. Hey, that fella's talking about me.
And that makes a difference, doesn't it?
These are your enemies. These are the people who are trying to take over our country. Now you know them. You know what they stand for. And it's up to you and me to fight them. Fight them and destroy them before they destroy us. Thank you.
Before he said Masons, you were ready to agree with him.
Well, yes, but he was talking about... What about those other people?
But in this country, we have no other people. We are American people also.
What about you? You aren't American, are you?
I was born in Hungary, but now I am an American citizen. And I have seen what this kind of talk can do. I saw it in Berlin.
What were you doing there?
I was a professor at the university. I heard the same words we have heard today. But I was a fool then. I thought Nazis were crazy people, stupid fanatics. But unfortunately, it was not so. You see, they knew that they were not strong enough to conquer a unified country. So they split Germany into small groups. They used prejudice as a practical weapon to cripple the nation. Of course, that was not easy to do. They had to work hard to do it. You see, we human beings are not born with prejudices. Always they are made for us. Made by someone who wants something. Remember that when you hear this kind of talk. Somebody is going to get something out of it. And it isn't going to be you.
Got to keep moving. Untouchables, 87, 83%. I want him dead. I want his house burned to the ground. There's so many speeches in this movie that formed my childhood.
Yes,
there's a line in this movie that I have used in my work.
I hope not as a police officer.
Is it bringing a gun to a knife fight?
No.
Yeah.
It is
just like a guinea. Always bringing
Jesus Christ
to a gunfight.
When it is the goal is to go home from your shift alive. The goal is to go home.
That's just sad.
It's
the truth.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, let's get into it.
Paramount Pictures announces an extraordinary entertainment experience, The Untouchables. Kevin Costner is Elliot Ness. Robert De Niro is Al Capone. Sean Connery is Jimmy Malone. A story of good and evil, honor and betrayal, corruption and courage. The Untouchables.
Now playing at the Century Cinedome and Sacramento Drive-Ins. Check newspaper for showtimes.
The Untouchables was written by David Mamet, not Brian De Palma, and wild. You can tell.
Yep.
It was based on The Untouchables by Elliot Ness and Oscar Fraley. Triumph return Kevin Costner, last seen The Bodyguard. Sean Connery, last seen with Joe in Outland. Andy Garcia, last seen in Ocean's 12. Robert De Niro, Meet the Fockers. Charles Martin Smith, Deep Impact. Patricia Clarkson, Easy A. Del Close, the inventor of modern improv. The Blob. This film was released June 3rd, 1987. Budget of $25 million. It made $106.2 million in kids.
Bingo.
That used to be a massive hit. A determined federal agent assembles an unbreakable team to bring down Al Capone during the height of Prohibition.
Oh, I was going to say your grandpa's favorite actor never stops fighting until they convict someone of tax evasion.
In my brain, this...
Sorry, I was like, who's your grandpa's favorite actor? Which one?
There's really just one at this point.
And I was like, am I a grandpa? Because I like so many of the actors here.
No.
I might be.
In my brain, this is what movies look like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Panavision anamorphic
Yeah.
with some little distortion and vignetting on the side. And it's sharp, but it's still got that softness that real film has. Where it's kind of dreamlike and big, taking actual Chicago and reversing time. And we get those so beautiful shots of actual Chicago that they got, real cars, and they took it back in time. They basically only were able to do it in that one fucking street, but they got everything they could out of it.
They got it.
If you can get Ennio Morricone to do the score, epic swelling score, even when it doesn't make sense for the scene, that's fine too. A cast of character actors of cross-generationally who come together, who have a mission to tell a bullshit version of history. This is kind of what De Palma in his previous movies is like. Hollywood is bullshit. This is a bullshit movie from beginning to end. This isn't real. None of this happened.
This is a revisionist history. This is Inglourious Bastards. This is
this might as well be a comic book. This is the Elliot Ness radio show.
Yes.
Or the Untouchables TV show that used to be on. This is not real life. But De Palma cannot help himself to not insert some horrific graphic violence and weird shit.
Damn right.
Cannot wait.
And if this is the first time I watched it, I have said, "Oh shit, Malone is wrong," because Charles Martin Smith as Wallace comes in at damn near the beginning. Is like, "We got him, tax evasion. He hasn't filed," and he's like, "What?
He's got
hasn't filed a return." He's and Ness is like, "What, a return?" He hasn't filed since 27 or something like that. We got him. And Ness immediately blows him off. Is like, "Get out of here," or whatever.
So here, this is what I was
wait a minute. The next scene to juxtapose that is when Malone shows up at the church and is like, "Do you want to do this?" And his entire pitch is escalation. He shows up with a knife. You show up with a gun.
They put one in the hospital. You put one of his in the
morgue.
And that ends up killing Jimmy. Gets him killed.
Yeah.
Gets Wallace killed.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end, even when they were victorious, Ness he's fucking broken. He's just like,
he's so broken. He goes to Cleveland.
That's correct.
And tarnishes his career even more.
That part is actually true.
I know.
Well, we got a bunch of his shit still here.
Yeah. Here's the thing: is I don't think in this fighting, we all know how awful Al Capone is was in real life.
Yes.
And but he was very smart because they couldn't connect him to anything, which is why they had to go a tax evasion. They had nothing else to get him on.
Which is one of the biggest complaints about this movie from critics of the time, who were like, one, this is beneath De Palma. De Palma's too smart to be making this type of movie. That was a lot of people's interpretation. The other one was Robert De Niro's not in any scenes with anybody else. It's like they all shot his stuff almost all separately. And we have no idea. It does
feel that way.
We have no idea who Capone is. We have no idea who what his motivations are. And he's not presented as this brilliant businessman who came up the ranks very young.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but it's not the Al Capone movie. This isn't
it's
Scarface
Elliot Ness movie
with De Niro. This is Elliot Ness. This is the Untouchables movie. This is that radio serial. I want to hear about the adventures of Elliot Ness and his justice fighting Untouchables. That's what this movie is.
You talk about how De Palma, the takedown of Hollywood and cops and sexism, he does it here.
Yeah,
he does it here.
Yes,
he sneaks
smartly
it in.
Because
all
all Elliot Ness has to do is listen to his guy, right? And it's over. But Elliot Ness is so obsessed with being on the front page of the paper, with having cameras in his face, with being the hero to the guy that took down Al Capone, that he ignores the easy home run.
The nonviolent path.
The nonviolent path. That he can take Capone out without lifting a finger, and it's over. And he's gone.
Can I tell you though? I never
do it.
I never interpreted this movie that way because I saw it as a kid, and all I knew was that Sean Connery
is the best.
Was the fucking man in that scene in that church, and he's like, "That's the Chicago way," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's the Chicago way." I internalized them, and that's also, by the way, that's like the two scenes three scenes when you think about this movie that come to mind is the recreation of the scene from the battleship Potemkin.
Yeah, the Odessa stairs.
And it's Malone dragging himself, the Pagliacci, across the floor, a bloody mess, right?
Yep.
And it's the scene in the church. And like that scene was played to us almost as men, as this is what a real man is. It was like a motivational scene. It was like
it is
Mickey to Rocky. But that's not the point of that scene in the movie.
No, it's not.
The point of the scene is like, that's what's going to get y'all killed.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to escalate this into, you're going to put your wife and your daughter in danger. And you're
those four men, I don't think, I do, the scene that I always go back to is as a Sicilian. I'm not Italian, I'm Sicilian. When he brings out, what's his name?
Andy Garcia as George Stone.
As George Stone.
That's one of my favorite scenes
it's
too.
The best scene. It's the best.
It's so good. Andy Garcia is amazing.
He's looking at him and he was like, "What's your name?" And he was like, "George Stone." He goes, "Stone? Stone is your?" He's like, "What's your real name?" He's like, "It's Stone." And then he finally says, "It's like Giuseppe, whatever it is." And he was like, "Oh God damn it! Like you fucking wop." I can say that because I am one. It's fine. And like immediately he goes to pull like
he pulls a gun.
He pulls a gun in his face.
He pulls a slapjack, and then Garcia's already got a gun under his face, and then he starts rattling off ethnic slurs.
But even that is the escalation, though, right? Mm-hmm. Like I understand the point of that scene is he wants to find a guy he can get a rise out of because he needs somebody who's going to bust heads. He needs a guy who's
someone fearless,
someone
fearless, who's not a cop yet,
someone who's not a cop yet,
who's not corrupt. Again, police corruption.
Yeah,
right.
And someone who has a big hog and gray sweatpants. Andy Garcia fits that bill.
Massive.
That's right, Andy Garcia. That's
Andy Garcia was rocking the gray sweatpants before that was a thing.
Yeah, was.
Exactly. My other favorite Andy Garcia is at the bottom of the stairs with all of the slow motion of Lady Carriage. And he's like, "You got him? I got him." And he's after he slides across the floor and he's so confident. It's so fucking sexy and so great.
The way,
I love that. That whole baby scene is amazing.
That part.
You got him. I got him.
I was a movie nerd.
Do it. Love it.
With other movie nerd friends. So we shot a bunch of movies.
Of course you did.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that.
Yeah, of course you did.
And
do you still have them?
Tell you I don't have them because I was too poor to have the equipment.
That's a Patreon exclusive right there.
The other people may have some of them. They may have some of them. But some of that stuff was digital tape. It was the little mini HD tapes.
Oh yeah.
So those I hate to tell you this, Joe, those are so old they're not viable anymore.
Do they have mold on them?
No, but
they've deteriorated so much.
They've deteriorated, yeah. Because I did ask about them a couple years ago. The guy who shot a lot of them. Because he's out in LA and he's been out there for years producing and doing stuff. And he's like, yeah, I got some of them, but he's like, I tried to transfer them, they can't even be transferred. Some of them.
Damn.
It's like that's how fucking old they are. I was like, oh God, I'm old.
That's sad.
Anyway, every single fucking thing we ever shot, somebody did the gun toss.
Yes!
Garcia
does. The Garcia gun toss.
And he tosses the gun under his arm.
I love it.
Costner catches it.
Well,
I was Costner in so many of those things where they put me in a freaking raincoat. I always played detectives.
Of course you did.
Or villains. I played a lot of villains. And but yeah, and it was
I think of the whole gun throwing thing is such a fun moment, but it is Arya dropping the knife. I'm not going to say why she drops the knife if you haven't seen Game of Thrones.
I see.
But it's Arya dropping the knife. It's Captain America. It's Steve Rogers and Bucky in the fight where they drop, do the same thing where they drop the knife and they catch it and there's a fight that ensues. It's the same gimmick, but there's a level of coolness in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Andy Garcia.
Andy Garcia is so goddamn cool.
Right.
He's so cool that it's just like he's so smooth with it. And but Megan, you got him? I got him.
Here's the thing, though.
I think about that scene often.
Isn't there something in this movie that's a little bit at odds with itself, though?
Yeah.
The Ennio Morricone
the glorification
score,
a little bit.
Yeah, the Ennio Morricone score is so triumphalistic. It's so like, it's like the grandeur of America and American justice, and look at these heroes, and they're the guys. And
none of them are
the message of the movie is like, yeah, this ain't the way to go. This ain't the way to do it.
Well, it's not even that. Like, they fail.
Yeah.
They all, like Elliot Ness fails in this movie. Yes, Capone is arrested or does go to jail, end up for tax evasion. Also dies from syphilis.
Yes,
he does.
Like he doesn't have this, like epic life in prison. He contracts syphilis and dies in jail of that. But in this movie, because of Elliot Ness's hubris, he ends up getting his buddy killed.
Yeah.
It's all
mentor,
he does not pay.
He gets his mentor.
Yeah.
He gets his mentor. He not just his mentor. He gets Andy Garcia's mentor killed. Like,
yes.
As much as Sean Connery is the Watson to Elliot Ness's to Kevin Costner's Holmes, he is the absolute training officer.
Sure.
For Andy Garcia. Andy Garcia looks up to him the entire time. They are. Anytime you see like the teams being split up, it's Malone and it's Connery and Garcia always. And because Elliot Ness refuses to not go the non-violent way, he gets his partners killed. He does end up building a reputation as the guy that quote unquote got Al Capone.
Mm-hmm.
But then he goes to Cleveland and he cannot solve the torso killer. Can't do it because I don't think he's that good of a cop.
Well, see, here's the thing in this film that is, I think, at odds with itself, which is, it's like Ness is too soft, right? When he comes in, he's this suit guy, he's Department of Treasury guy.
Wants to be on the front page of the paper.
He's too soft. He's too soft, and he can't get it done. So Malone is like, what are you prepared to do? Even his dying words are like, what are you prepared to do? Like, how far are you willing to go? You got to be willing to take it all the way. And in essence, it's like, he does take it all the way, and that's what causes all of this bedlam and mayhem and bloodshed.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, that's what gives him what success he does have.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know that the movie has a very clear moral message of, are we supposed to? I walked away as a kid thinking this is what it means to be a man. That is, to be a man, you have principles, you have integrity, and
I think that's still viable.
Yeah, but you defend those no matter what it personally cost you. Even if it drives you into the ground, even if you have to die for your principles, you die for your principles, by God. And I don't know that that's actually the takeaway this movie wanted me to have when I saw it.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know,
because it's ultimately all pointless. Because when fucking Ness is walking out, it's like, they might be ending prohibition, sir. What are you gonna do? I think I'll have a drink. Which means all this bloodshed was for a law
nothing.
you didn't even believe in.
Exactly.
You put your wife and your children in the crosshairs for nothing.
Yep.
For nothing.
Yep.
For absolutely nothing. And Jimmy was wrong. Jimmy Malone was wrong, and he died because his worldview was wrong.
I don't think he was wrong. But go ahead, Megan.
Oh, interesting. I was like, now I want to hear that. But I was going to say, I don't think that the film is necessarily at odds. I mean, I think it is at odds with itself, but I don't think that it makes it at odds with itself. Because again, I think people are messy, people are complicated. The dialectic, two opposing things can be true simultaneously. And I think that's what's happening here, because Brian De Palma is such a fucking smart filmmaker and has so much to say about society and about how we look up to these, people as heroes. We have these American myths, this myth of independence, this myth of, standing your ground, standing, for your principles and your ideals. But here's the thing, there's some tells here. And one of the ones I noticed on this rewatch, because I've seen this a million times, is during the scene, the infamous Battleship Potemkin staircase scene, when the carriage is going, there is a moment where he hesitates because he's like, if I grab this carriage, I can't shoot these guys.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. And as a person, as a human, as a father, like that's disgusting that he's like, maybe I'll let this baby carriage go and this baby die. And it's just so he can get these fuckers because he's so obsessed.
Spot on, Megan.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
He cannot.
Well, before
his
he's
role,
almost pushing the lady and the baby out of the way.
Yes.
Before he's like, get the fuck out of the way.
Exactly.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's kind of what you're supposed to do, though, is you do put yourself.
Yeah, but his body language isn't like I'm putting myself in between them.
Correct.
And the
right. I'm trying to protect her.
Yeah.
Right.
He's more like you're in the way of
you're
me
in the
being
way.
Able to track these guys.
And I need to finish this plan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, when I mentioned that I don't think Malone is wrong, I do think that there is the only way that Malone knew, right? Because we have to figure Malone's been on the police department at this point, 10, 15, 20 years? Because even the police chief is like, what are you doing? Like, you could retire. Or even Elliot Ness says to him, what are you doing walking a beat? Mm-hmm. He's like, I won't take the money. Is basically, he's like, I won't do it. So I do think that Malone has been around long enough to know the only way you're going to beat these guys is if you play their game. If we play this by the law. But
that's not how they end up beating Capone. They don't beat him by playing his game. They beat him by a loophole. Then they play his game. They die.
But what I'm saying is
Wallace gets strung up in gets his brains blown out and strung up in an elevator for
But what I'm saying is
efforts.
In Malone's head, who's seen this happen, who's been in this world, who's seen the corruption, doesn't know any other way. He's like, I'm here. Like I've been.
Oh, I understand where Malone is coming from. I just think the thesis of the movie is
don't listen to Malone.
Yeah, because
I see what you're saying.
Think about the scene. Okay. Wallace goes apeshit. He has his triumphant, heroic moment where he's saving Andy Garcia after Andy Garcia gets shot. Right, the hot shot kid, the dead shot guy gets shot and is taken out of action. The nerd has to grab a shotgun and he's literally just
blowing people away.
Pink mist. Right? and then it's almost comedic and it's triumphant and the score is swelling and da.
He gets a swig of whiskey.
Scene.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. He sneaks him in.
Yeah, he sneaks the whiskey and we're like, oh, it's like almost like a Spielberg moment, right? You're like, wow.
It is, yes.
The next scene, he's dead in the elevator.
Yep. Gets shot in the face.
Because that's what it's trying to tell you is violence and toxic masculinity will get you killed.
Correct. The putting those scenes back to back is like it's not just like it's for dramatic effect because you're at the peak of the excitement of the movie and then we're going to cut the legs out from underneath you and this guy we just got you to fall in love with and killed. That's part of it.
The other part of it is also works in Hollywood, message. Right?
Yeah.
Charles Martin Smith?
Yeah. There's a lot of TV.
Yeah.
I love Charles Martin Smith. What a great actor.
He is. Yeah. He's great. Everybody's great in this.
Everybody is. Except Kevin Costner is the weakest, I think.
Oh, by far.
He's always the weakest.
I'm on the record that he's not good.
He's not a good actor.
He's not a good actor. No.
He's so wooden.
Yeah.
But he's your grandpa's favorite actor. Your grandpa loves Yellowstone.
My dad loved him.
Well, originally when I wrote this, I said dad. But then I was thinking about my age, and I was like, maybe it would be grandpa at this point.
It might be.
Well, if no young people listen to the show, so you're fine.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Not 3 hours in either.
Well, they should, damn it.
Yeah, they
should. The thing about it, though, is that I had posited the theory that Kevin Costner is illiterate.
Oh, I was like, I've heard that before. I think I've heard it from you.
From me. There's no substance to it. The way he pronounces words is like somebody who maybe had like literacy issues.
Yeah, he might have. It's very possible.
Here's the thing I've learned about him since I posited that theory is that he says it himself that it's not just the movies he writes, it's any movie. He says the script is holy text. I shouldn't change a single syllable of it. So any actor will take those words and get them to be where they're comfortable in their own mouth.
Yeah, to sound natural,
even if it's just adding some natural ums and ahs in there or maybe moving some of the words around, he refuses to do it.
Oh, that's why. Okay, that explains.
So he is like verbatim dictating, the script is dictating verbatim what he's saying. And when with that knowledge now, when you hear him, you're like, oh, it's almost like a fucking typewriter. It's like da 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 period, da 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 comma, ba 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 ba.
Interesting.
Da, 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 period. It's like he's literally just memorizing and repeating word for word what's in front of him. And that just gives a very wooden kind of. It's just like when oh my God, there's so many lines in this movie where I'm like, fucking A.
I'm sorry, like, the car line is the best.
No,
I love that line.
Oh my, I
love that line so much.
No, but I'm talking about his delivery.
Oh, sure.
He's like,
sure.
Fight, never stop fighting until the fight is done. He's like, and then you get De Niro's like, what are you saying to me? What the fuck? What are you saying to me? And he's like, fight. It means you never stop fighting. And it's like, this guy, there's no inflection, there's no passion, there's nothing in that line. The whole movie's been building to this second face to face. The first time you were face to face with him, you were powerless. You couldn't do anything.
And now you were
going to sink to his level and pull out a gun and blow his brains out in the middle of a hotel lobby.
Right.
You won the day. This is your triumphant moment, and Costner cannot deliver it. And because of his performance alone, that's why this movie is only my second of the week. I give it an 8.57 out of 10. Costner brings this movie way down.
Have you guys seen Penguin? Have you watched any of the Penguin TV show yet?
I've seen the first episode.
So you're going to tell me that Colin Farrell isn't channeling Robert De Niro in this?
Oh, of course he is.
Like down to the makeup. Like he looks. Oh, apparently Siri thought I was talking to her. Like down to the makeup. He looks just like.
Yeah.
It's not could be. Like look at a side by side of De Niro in the Capone makeup and then Farrell in the Penguin makeup, and it looks very
I
similar.
would like to go on the record to say I disagree with Ebert and Siskel and Pauline Kael and probably Siegel and all the rest of them who were like, well, I don't know enough about Capone.
That's dumb.
I know enough about Capone because he takes a baseball bat, talks about teamwork,
smashes that guy's head in.
I was like, I know enough because you guys talked about the scenes that stuck with you. We did not talk about one of the ones that haunts me since I was a child. Is the little girl in the bar saying, "Excuse me, Mister, you forgot your bag," and I'm like, "Oh my God!"
You know, that is such a powerful.
That's
scene.
De Palma, though. I don't ever want to bore the audience.
No, I know. De Palma's like, "Fuck you! You better pay attention and stay on your toes." Yeah,
I'm gonna blow this kid up right in front of you.
Exactly.
It's a scene that I honestly forgot about because I don't revisit this very often, but I forgot the scene existed. So when the guy's like, he's like, I'm not selling your beer here. Like it's gross. Nobody buys it. It's blah. I'm not buying it. And then the other guy leaves his briefcase. The girl walks over and she's like, you could see him turn something like on the briefcase. And when she grabs it and it's like, I kept thinking, I was like, oh, she's just going to put it outside and it's going to be an accident. No, he blows up a child.
Yes.
Yes,
intentionally.
As she's holding the brief. You don't see it, obviously, but you see the
it dawns on the bartender way too late. He's like, no, honey, no. Boom.
Yeah. Right.
It's just so wrenching.
The other thing that sells, Megan, to your point, at the very beginning, that sells the bad guy. Who are we talking about? Al Capone.
Al Capone.
We could have been talking about Frank Nitti too, because he's also the bad guy here.
He's all laughing and he's like cutting up with them, and and the reporters are all like, yeah, whoa, right? And he's saying all of this like coded gangster, like, hey, I fuck people up, right? And you all know I fuck people up, and
wink.
Blah, 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 blah. Wink, and they're all laughing at him. They're all sycophants.
Which I believe appeared in a newspaper, asked why, since you are, or it would seem that you are in effect the mayor of Chicago, you've not simply been appointed to that position.
Well, I'll tell you, it's touching. Like a lot of things in life, we laugh because it's funny and we laugh because it's true. Some people say, reformers here say, put that man in jail. What does he think he is doing? What I hope I'm doing, and here's where your English paper's got a point, is I'm responding to the will of the people. People are going to drink. You know that. I know that. We all know that. And all I do is act on that. And all this talk of bootlegging. What is bootlegging? On the boat, it's bootlegging. On Lakeshore Drive, it's hospitality. I'm a businessman.
And what of your reputation that you control your business through violence? That those that don't purchase your products are dealt with violently?
It's all right. I grew up in a tough neighborhood. And we used to say you can get further with a kind word and a gun than you can with just a kind word. And in that neighborhood, it might have been true. And sometimes a reputation follows you. There is violence in Chicago, of course, but not by me and not by anybody I employ, and I'll tell you why.
And the guy, the barber, accidentally nicks him because he's moving. It's Capone's fault.
Exactly.
And the quick look on his face when he looks at his own blood, looks at that guy.
So good.
And the barber like looks petrified of him.
And he was like, "It's all right." He was like, "It's all right."
Yeah, and he goes, "Oh, that's all right. That's all right." And like, but then
what
he does another thing though, which is he says it's all right, but then if the rest of the scene, he's furious as he's talking.
Oh yeah. I don't think it is all right, and I don't think that guy makes it another day.
No.
I think it's very clear.
That's enough you need to know about him, that he's charismatic but dangerous.
What this movie doesn't do, and I will say it is I gave it a 7.25. It's my number 3. Boardwalk Empire does a much better job of showing you how much of a sociopath and psychopath Al Capone is. He is not the nice kind of, he is always well, I think he is charismatic, but he's teetering on the level of anger that we see at that scene with the baseball bat, like, or nicking him on the face, right? That barber didn't do anything wrong.
No, it wasn't Capone's fault. He's moving around and
but Megan's absolutely right. That barber didn't make it to his next breakfast.
Dead.
He's fucking dead. So I do think the guy, I wish that he's in, you'd recognize the guy who plays Capone.
I don't know though. I got that this guy was fucking crazy.
I agree. Yeah. And I've seen that guy who played Al Capone on Boardwalk Empire, and he does a great job. He's a great actor.
He's wonderful.
Yeah, he is. He's a really great actor, but I think Robert De Niro is exceptional here. And
I don't disagree at all.
I think what he's doing, I think he is such a subtle actor, which kind of sounds funny because he's known for more bombastic roles.
Like Meet the Fockers.
But back then, was he?
Yeah. For what? Was he known for bombastic roles?
Like being that big? Because I don't
yeah, this
feel
is,
like
I mean, this is an arguably over the top, larger than life performance.
Yeah.
But I think that because, like, if you think of, I think of Godfather Part 2 and how subtle that is.
Yeah,
and I think what works here, he is great with the larger than life persona and the charisma. But I think, interestingly and strangely, the kind of terror that he instills is very subtle, and then until it boils over. And so I think Robert De Niro, what he's doing is exceptional, and I think he's doing such a great job in showing how unhinged that he really is and how dangerous he is in a different way than the guy on Boardwalk Empire did.
In about 10 minutes, I figure he maybe 30 minutes of screen time. He's not in this a lot.
No, he's not.
He's in like, he's almost like Michael Keaton in Beetlejuice, where it's like,
yes.
you remember him, but he's not in it for very long.
Right. You think of him and you think like, oh, he's in like more than half the movie, most of the movie. No, he's not.
No.
So so for me, I gave this, what did I give this? I gave this an 8.6. This is my number 2 of the week because Kevin Costner does bring this down, although arguably a wooden performance, maybe that works for Ness, but I don't think it works for a lot of the delivery here, unfortunately.
You're right. I think that is very much Elliot Ness.
Yeah, but I think the other performances are so fantastic.
Yeah.
I have no love for Sean Connery, but he does a fantastic performance here. Andy Garcia is amazing, Charles Martin Smith, and Al Pacino is exceptional.
I am never not upset when he dies in this movie.
Who?
Malone.
Oh,
I'm
sorry. I don't know why I thought you were saying I thought you were saying something else. Never mind.
Oh yeah, but I'm like it's the range of emotions that happens in that scene, from the POV of getting into the apartment.
Yes, again, a horror movie.
It is very
Billy
much a horror
Drago
movie.
walking by, a guy we didn't even see, popping up out of the shadows, going up. Now we're in his perspective, like a slasher movie, and we're not sure if Malone's aware or not, but it turns out Malone is aware. Then he pulls up the sawed-off shotgun, which has been in the record player, which was set up earlier, and you're thinking, okay, here's another thing that Malone is street smart. He's going to get himself out of this.
Nope.
And
he's too cocky.
At the height of his arrogance, but the squibs, they loaded Connery up.
They light him up.
They loaded his ass up.
He walks right into that trap.
Yeah, they blew the shit out of Sean Connery.
When the guy with the knife, when the guy with the knife pops up and gives him like that little smirk.
Yes.
He's like, I got you, bitch. Like that's
yes.
Yeah.
And then just dragging himself. And then when they get there and they're all that you see is the blood trail.
Like, you know what I like? You know, you can read that one of two ways. You can read that as Ness walks in and is like, okay, Malone's okay. Like he got the guy. And that's how I think, that's how I read it when Ness walks in the first time. When he sees that blood trail, he's not even really panicking. That could be Kevin Costner as an actor.
I think that's Kevin Costner. I think the scene is, I think he's supposed to be panicking.
I don't know that he is, because Malone is this streetwise beat cop.
Invincible, yeah.
And he's invincible, right?
No, you're right.
He knew that somebody was going to try to pick
and
him
he's
off.
mangled as he's laying there, man. The amount of blood packs.
Well, also one of the things that I think people have gotten away from is how much pain you are in, right? Like you get shot, you get shot in the arm or, whatever, but the amount of bullet holes that have riddled his body, he is going to, like, when Elliot rolls him over and he like arches his back, it's because he is in excruciating I'm sure his guts are all torn up.
Well,
right?
I definitely think Connery sells the shit out of his death scene.
He absolutely does. But I will tell you, like, the what they can't show you in a movie is what happens to I'm sorry if this is a little too graphic, what happens to the inside of your body when bullets tear through it, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're tearing through your bones, they're tearing through your muscles, they're tearing through your everything. So the amount of pain that somebody feels when they are, when they're shot as many times as he is, he would be overselling it a little bit, but not because he wants to. The way his body is reacting.
I don't think he is overselling it. I just think he's doing a great job of making us feel that pain, and he doesn't. It's like a heroic death, but it's really grim and sad, and it makes the heroism feel very empty because he's just like gargling in his own blood.
Yeah,
and just the fact that like he's always fidgeting with his,
his key box key.
Yeah, and then he like basically like tosses his faith away and his duty away to get the info, because he's obsessed, and now as much as Ness is, which again is a movie about obsession. And whatever, we gotta move on. Casualties of War, 1989, 84%, screenplay by David Rabe.
From Brian De Palma and Art Linson, the director and the producer of The Untouchables, Michael J. Fox, Sean Penn, a story of crisis.
We ain't supposed to be doing this. She's a VC.
Courage.
This is nuts.
Conflict.
You ain't hotshot enough to be saying no to me.
And conscience. Casualties of War, rated R. Starts Friday, August 18th at select theaters.
This is a story by Daniel Lang. It's time for return of Michael J. Fox, last seen The Frighteners. Much different movie.
Very different movie.
John Leguizamo's Super Mario Brothers. And Ving Rhames'
favorite movie.
Mission Impossible 3. Film was released August 18th, 1989, on a budget of $22.5 million. It made $18.75 million. Traumatized veteran confronts the brutality of war and the inhumane evil committed by his fellow soldiers in Vietnam as he stood by and did nothing. I gotta say, this is based on a true story. It's the Hill 192 incident, which happened in 1966. A story for, I think, Time Magazine, came out in 1969. That was the basis for this film. A movie was made off of that. It's called Okay, I think is what it's called.
Yep.
And I haven't seen that. But the script for what it would eventually, Rabe wanted to make this movie. and kind of an unneutered version of the story. And it just was in developmental hell forever because nobody wanted to make a movie where Americans commit war crimes in Vietnam.
De Palma's like, got it.
De Palma was at the screening of the first film that was based off of this.
Oh, really okay.
Yeah, the Berlin Film Festival, where they like canceled all the awards because it caused such a controversy. Yeah,
correct. Yeah, and this became kind of one of those like, I want to make this movie. I want to make this movie. And he tried a couple times before. These two guys, Rabe and De Palma, tried. They just couldn't get anybody to give him any money to do it. But The Untouchables was such a hit that Columbia Pictures was like, what do you want to do? Come on over and you can do any movie you want to do. And he's like, well, I got Michael J. Fox and I've got our boy
Sean Penn.
So I got two of the hottest young actors in Hollywood and they want to do a Vietnam movie. And the studio Columbia didn't really want to do it, but they had already kind of promised him that he could do whatever he wanted. And they had two hot actors. He kind of came to them.
What year was this? I'm sorry.
He came to them in like 87, 88 to do it.
So we're at Back to the Future 3.
This comes out the same year as 2. 3 came out in 90.
Okay. That's wild.
Michael J. Fox had done a bunch of stuff in between Back to the Future and Back to the Future 2.
Yeah.
He did the one where he's had a cocaine addiction, Secret of My Success, or is that the other one?
Bright Lights, Big City.
Bright Lights, Big City. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So he had done a couple of dramatic turns. Boy, I just gotta say this up front.
Oh.
There is part of this movie to me is tarnished because of Tropic Thunder.
Sure.
Because I feel like Tropic Thunder is a direct, like, there is a old school Hollywood craning shot into Michael J. Fox as he's delivering what is meant to be the speech. Because in this era of dramatic filmmaking, there was always a speech.
Yeah.
And he speechifies in this movie towards the end where he's like, maybe we shouldn't be in this war. You know, and it's just, it's that thing that we've seen parodied all throughout the 90s, all throughout the 2000s, all throughout
you
the 2010s.
Can't handle the truth.
A little bit. Yeah. It's like, it's what big Hollywood serious acting used to be. It's just out of fashion now. And for the most part. And I just like, damn, that kind of, I got too many of these parodies in my head. There's a couple moments in this movie where I'm like, this feels like the sort of this is the sort of Vietnam movie that gets lampooned again and again and again because it's so big and so dramatic and so earnest. That being said, it's beautifully shot.
Yep.
The camera movements in this movie are incredible. It may be his best looking movie. I
disagree, but
it was really hard for me to take Sean Penn seriously at times.
That is the biggest drawback for me in this entire movie.
I'm like, I can handle Fox, and I think he does a much better job than I would have thought. I'm in a weird place this movie because the first time I saw it, I was in my early 20s. And it was on cable. I didn't know what it was about.
Sure.
So I'm like, oh, a Michael J. Fox movie that isn't Teen Wolf.
Or
I
Back
haven't
to the
seen
Future.
it. Yeah, or Back to the Future. I'd seen some of his other movies, but I hadn't seen this one. So I loved Michael J. Fox. So I had missed missed the first 10 minutes, and but at this point I'd seen a bunch of Vietnam movies. My dad, as a Vietnam veteran, had introduced me to a lot of Vietnam movies. The one that he said that was most similar to the actual Vietnam he was in was Hamburger Hill, by the way.
Okay.
He's like, Platoon's way too over the top. It was Hamburger Hill. But Sean Penn is doing that like, I want to be Marlon Brando so fucking bad at 20-something years old.
I don't think Sean Penn's a very good actor.
I'm going to come up with some...
I think he's trash.
Yeah, I don't think he's...
I'm going to come up with some kind of cockamamie accent. And there's, of course, a famous story going around about Stephen Baldwin being fired up, where he's like, wait a minute. Is this guy going to do this accent the whole time?
And then he gets fired for it.
Because like, we didn't rehearse this. Because in rehearsal, he had no accent. And all of a sudden, he's like, oh, why are you talking to me? I'm like, oh, my God. And even the Hatcher character, I just fucking hate Vietnam, man. You know, it's like it's so cranked up to like parody levels at times.
Yeah.
But the context of the actual story, the movie, and then you got John C. Reilly, who's playing the same thing John C. Reilly always does. I know this is his first role, but he's so improbably fucking stupid that it like the only people who I think are in the right movie are John Leguizamo and Michael J. Fox. And I'm like, these other guys are too over the top. They're too cartoonish at times when it would be worse if they were normal acting like this.
I wonder if that's because I did think the same thing. I think John C. Reilly, the other guy who was like, he's the Vincent D'Onofrio of this.
Oh yes, correct.
Great comparison.
And then Sean Penn, I do feel like if those three, John C. Reilly, is one of those the character in this movie that can.
Well, he got the Baldwin role because he was an extra in the movie, and after they fired Baldwin, they
just pulled him in.
They were already shooting. They already shot a couple days. So
I do think that if those characters felt real, like real people, that this movie does not sit well with a lot of people. Because
it doesn't sit well with me.
But I can look at those
period
and be like, those are characters. Right, that's not real people. Even though I 100% believe there were real people. I know not for a fact, but let's be honest.
Yes, correct. Yeah, right? This is a true story. This happened, so we know that
the fact that
people are capable of this.
A little bit of distance between real life and a fictional thing makes this movie, for me, more palatable,
more approachable.
Yeah, I think Tom Savini has a great comparison where because Tom Savini was in Vietnam.
Yeah, he was a Vietnam photographer.
Right. I was going to explain who Tom Savini was to two people that did the podcast called The Fucking Slash. But what he said is the camera gave him the ability to photograph some of the worst things you could think of, but because there's the camera there, it didn't feel real. Right?
Yes,
like the camera gave him that buffer where it didn't feel real, which gave him the ability to create some of the greatest special effects you've ever seen. I think this movie does the same thing. This having the camera, having these three characters who are kind of wild, right? Feel just fake enough that this doesn't feel real. But it is. And I think if those three characters had more of a real feel to them, this is a much harder movie to watch.
It's still a hard movie to watch.
It is absolutely hard. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying that it gives it a level of distance.
Well, I knew it was a comedy when I saw it the first time. It wasn't a comedy when I saw it the first time. And so I know, I can understand tones. I know it's a drama. I didn't know what the story was.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, what the fuck? What is happening? And again, I'm seeing this, maybe I was probably college age the first time I saw it. And I'll be honest with you, it fucked me up. The movie fucked me up.
Sure.
So I knew when I watched it this time, I can't watch this and then be like, well, I'm going to bed now. Like, I'm going to have to watch this in the middle of the day because then I'm going to have to go outside and get my mind off of this because this is going to fuck me up. This is going to fuck with my head. And it put me in a really down mood. And I'm still in a down mood because of this movie. So I guess it's a reprieve that I could look at Sean Penn and his shitty acting and be like, I'm laughing at this guy because what the fuck movie are you in? And just the other guy, man. Oh my God.
Sean Penn.
This country, man. Yeah. And I'm like, this part of me wants to go, they even do it in Aliens and I love Aliens. Is this how
Aliens?
Is this how troops in Vietnam, is this Hollywood vernacular of Vietnam troops, because every Vietnam movie, they all talk like this. They're all like, "The fucking VC, man. Game over, man." They're always crazed and terrified. And,
I think there definitely probably was people.
There's always a chicken shit of like, "Where's my, whatever, man? Oh, fuck, man. Oh, jeez." And like, it's always the same. They're always carrying the same guns, and they're like, "You better change your fucking socks, man." It's all the same.
They do this in Stripes. Like
I think I hate Vietnam movies is what I'm getting at. Yeah, they do make fun of it in Stripes. Yeah,
when John Candy's like walking out with his hair in his hands and he's all mad. He's like, "All right, take it easy, Francis."
Yeah, correct. Yeah. But it's like, "Oh, the fucking cherry, man. You better stay the fuck away." They're always chain smoking. "You better stay the fuck away from me, man." And like that's where like Tropic Thunder kind of got into that of making fun of it. And it's like, "You're gonna make it, man. I'm telling you. You're gonna be able to talk to your mama by yourself. You're gonna be able to tell you love her to her face. We're sitting
I
at
am
home."
so
man.
glad I've never seen Tropic Thunder, and I've avoided it, and I'm very glad.
I think it's worth a watch.
It does a very good job of parodying war movies.
No, I'm okay. I'm good.
I'm not trying to convince you to watch it. I'm saying to the audience that it does. And then it kind
I'm
of
sure
like,
it does. Yeah.
You notice all of those, like, oh my God, those tropes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you see a handful of Vietnam films, you notice that. Like
Platoon, Apocalypse Now, like,
they're all doing similar things, but
right.
some of them are doing it more brilliantly than
it's funny,
others.
I always thought Full Metal Jacket was kind of the hardest one to watch. Because
that is a hard one. Yeah.
It is two separate movies.
I don't think any of them are easy to watch.
No. You're Jason, you're 100% right.
But
there's no fun Vietnam movie. Even Forrest Gump is like, that's the funnest version of Vietnam you're ever going to get.
Maybe Tropic Thunder is the most fun. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's a fake movie in a fake country.
Yeah.
After watching this, I was like, man, I don't know if I can revisit this again.
No,
like I can go back and watch scenes from Full Metal Jacket that I think are interesting, that are
Jay.
What's happening right now?
My dog probably wants to go
puppy.
out.
Oh.
She disappeared on me.
It's funny, I've gotten to that point with movies in general where it's like I don't really need to watch the whole thing again, but I would like to watch this part. Like I like this part
just like certain scenes or parts.
Yeah, exactly. There's no parts in this where I was like, I could go back and rewatch that.
And that is the point, right? The point of this is like, look at this.
Yeah, it's horrifying. Yeah.
Absolute war crime.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the cover up and the indifference.
Yes.
And the inhumanity. And like the point of Sean Penn's character too, and this is where I think his performance really fucks it up, is this is a kid.
Well,
this is supposed to be a normal American kid.
Is it the major that says that?
Yeah, he's like 20 years old.
He says he's a 20-year-old kid.
Yeah,
this is
you're gonna ruin his life.
You're gonna ruin his life.
Fuck you, buddy.
But wait a minute. But that's what happens all the time.
Correct.
When women bring when they talk about rape and they bring rape charges and talk about it, it's always well, you're gonna ruin that guy's life. Do you really want to do that? Really?
Yeah. Right. And
so I found this movie wildly accurate just from that stance.
That doesn't surprise me at all because I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I agree with that. But the point I was trying to get at is with the Sean Penn character is because he's so cartoonish as this psychopath from almost the moment we meet him. I know what it's supposed to be is like he just lost this guy. He's barely hanging on.
Was he Stokes? He was the cop on the first season of Dexter. You know that whole meme where he's like, "Surprise, motherfucker."
I don't know.
Oh, that's who it is. He was on Dexter for like 2 or 3 seasons.
The point is like that's the thing that sends him over the edge, and just the indifference of the all human life is meaningless now, and that you could take ostensibly all American normal boys because they shouldn't even be there. You put them into the war machine, and you're going to get psychopaths. That's part of what the story is. But the Full Metal Jacket does a better job of like, this is how you develop a psychopath. This is how you take an everyday ordinary person off the street and turn them into a psycho killer, which is essentially what the military has to do to send people over. You have to not value human life, and especially you have to other people, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's happening here. That's what's happening here when they look at the Vietnamese people. They don't even see them as people. And it's not just the VC, it's spread to everybody. The government is unable to contain its own creation. They're all John Lithgows walking around as fucking psychopaths. I'm serious.
No, you're right. Yeah.
I think
but I don't feel the tragedy of the loss of their innocence because none of them are innocent.
They say that in this movie, but
there are super villains the moment I meet them.
Yes. And I mean, I think for a long time, Hollywood tried to depict the Vietnamese people as on the same level as Nazis, right? You put Nazis in a movie.
100%.
You put a swastika on somebody's arm, you're like, that's the bad guy.
Right.
Like, there's no question.
It's an easy villain. Right.
There's
exactly.
no question who the villain is. And I think it probably wasn't until we start seeing those pictures of the children post the bombs dropping where you're just like, Jesus Christ, like what did we do?
But a lot of those images were coming back on television, which is why that Vietnam was so unpopular.
Oh, for sure.
As a war at the time.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Movies continue to depict the Vietnamese people
as
being supervillains
all
the way into
and this
the
one
80s.
This one does that as well for the most part. I think with the exception of when our characters go to the village where even Michael J. Fox is like, what are we doing? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like none of these aren't VC, but then we kind of see Michael J. Fox's naivety. Is that the right word? Where he's helping, he's in the mud helping that guy with the
oxen,
but he lets his guard character down, and that's how the guy gets shot is because just to touch on if you would have, this is the only one that De Palma has a style, right? And he does it twice in this movie where you see Michael J. Fox kind of hovering over the body of his friend that has just died, where in the background we see people from the village helping the Viet Cong get into a tunnel, right?
Yeah, the split diopter shot.
And he does it again later when the crazy guy in the platoon ends up stabbing the woman.
Yes, correct.
Right? It's all, and I was like, well, that's De Palma. Like that's 100% a De Palma shot.
But I don't think he's depicting the Vietnamese people as villains in this, and nor do I think I don't think he is. Oh, I thought that's what you said. I
think every Vietnamese person that we do see until we get to that village, we're not really sure. Right? When we go to the village,
I think that's
night,
a depiction of what it would be like to be in that circumstance.
Right.
That's what guerrilla war.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
That's
don't know who's who.
Is.
Do I think that old guy that he's helping with the ox with is part of the Viet Cong? Probably not.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that there's not people in the village.
But the argument they make even in the movie, and the screenplay is trying to make the case of what these guys do is wrong, but this is why they've gone crazy. Essentially, like this is they're young kids who have basically no guidance. Everybody's dying around them, and you can never come to any kind of psychological rest because at any moment. And one of the guys says something to the effect of, and it's in all of these movies. He's like, "Yeah, they're USA in the morning, they're VC in the afternoon because it's whoever rolled in here and scared them last. That's whose side they're on." So
sure.
That's like verbatim what he says. Like whoever scared them last, that's who they're loyal to. And so like they're helping us now because we just terrified the shit out of them. But when we leave and the VC comes in, they're going to terrify them. And that is true, right? You're going to try to survive.
Absolutely.
And if you're caught in between this conflict, you're going to do whatever you have to do to survive in that given moment, right?
Yep.
But it's more harrowing to me. And this is a little bit of modernism in my thinking as opposed to this point in time. But it's more harrowing to me if those are ordinary men who are committing these atrocities and that happen in this movie and not
cartoonish villains.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Caricatures, of just Sean Penn stinks in this movie. Like he's terrible.
I think everybody's
Michael
bad,
J.
except
Fox
for Michael J.
has
Fox.
one mode, and I think in some scenes it works, and some scenes it doesn't. He's constantly had a breath, and like just even like
I
know.
love him. I think he's great in this.
And
I do.
He's got that
agree.
acting tick. He has even in Back to the Future. He's like, "What do you mean, Doc?" It's just this little tick that he does.
Yeah, he has a style.
It drives me fucking nuts. When he got older, he dropped it.
Yeah.
In this era, he did a lot of it in movies. And it works in certain scenes because he's panicking.
Yes. He's panicked
Yeah.
nonstop. He feels guilty. He feels panicked. He doesn't know what to do. Yeah.
And the thing is, he should feel guilty.
Yeah. Yes. He didn't do enough. He didn't do enough to protect that woman.
He is a stand. So, like, you were talking about how he was a hippie. De Palma himself has said that, like, what interested him about this was not just like the war crimes. It was, and you see this when you like, even with Ness and with all these characters, like you were talking about Joe and Body Double. It's the guys who don't do enough. It's not enough that Michael J. Fox is outraged by this and doesn't participate.
Yep.
He's complicit by
Mm-hmm.
not stopping it.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't do anything to stop it. He didn't, and trying after the fact, that's not even good enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's too late.
It's too late. She's dead. She's been tortured and raped and murdered. And you knew it was going to happen. You morally objected to it. You refused to participate. And none of that's good enough.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You did not help this woman. And
those
even
scenes,
his CO kind of bust him down for that. It was like, well,
Both of them.
what the fuck did you do? And it's like,
both of those.
Damn, did nothing.
When he gets back and he goes up against Ving Rhames, and Ving Rhames is like, gives him the story about how somebody stood by and did nothing. Like that's or basically says, I think it's, does he say like he threatens him? He's like, you got a wife and daughter at home. It's better just to get home. Like, if that's what you want, we'll get you home.
The Ving Rhames story, god damn, man.
Yeah, that was not great.
It's just basically like,
fuck him.
It's basically like, men have limits, and if you push a man past his limits, he's bound to do anything, and we all lose our cool sometimes. So, best we could do is just let it go. Nobody needs to know about this because,
and I do like that even Michael J.
It's
Fox
wrong.
is like,
I'm not saying it's right, but
he's like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna break up the squad, and I'll send it in a different way.
I'm gonna solve it without having to make a big to do about it.
Right. And I do, and it's Michael J. Fox. I talked about how I've got this sheet of paper that's like got arrows everywhere. The crisis of faith or conscience, I guess, it goes back to Blowout, where the guy with the guy comes to him in the hospital and is just like, hey man, just forget about this. Like walk away.
The system always wants you to forget, right?
Absolutely.
It's always in the best.
Forget.
Yeah, it's just in the best interest of everybody that we just
move on.
Yep.
And that he comes back and
it's
does it again
wrong.
here.
It never should have happened. Is that what you wanted to hear me say?
Let's just forget it and move on.
But let's forget
right.
it.
Right.
Exactly.
And then when he goes to the big boss and the big boss is like chewing his head. And I do think the major in that scene has an interesting point where he's like, motherfucker, I've been here for how long? I've been here. You've been here for 3 weeks. I've been here for years, or, a year at this point. Like, I'm just trying to get us out of here. But you want to make a big stink about this one person in a war that, we shouldn't even, he doesn't say this, but he's like, you're making this big deal out of nothing. Like, this means nothing. You're going to, I think he does have an interesting point where he's like, you're going to make a big deal out of this. You're going to get a court martial. They're going to be through the court martial and back here before you even, it's not going to matter. Like, so I do feel like there's a level of defeat that even the major feels, where he's just like, what do you want to do, man? Like, even if we do this, even if you go through with this, it's not going to matter. But
he's proven wrong.
Right.
He is
he's proven wrong.
Absolutely. But then he also hits the line where he says, you're going to ruin this kid's life over this.
Right. That's exactly. That's the point, is that he's defending those guys. He's not defending the woman who was raped and killed and tortured. He's not defending Michael J. Fox. He's defending those fuckers who are rapists and monsters.
Correct.
Yep.
And I think that's the thing, is that, I hear what both of you are saying about the cartoonishness of the villains. For me, it worked. It worked full on, because I think there are so many men who are capable of this. And that's really what's terrifying is that so many men can just turn on a dime and become a monster and do this and dehumanize people and rape women and be abusive and be gross. And so for me, the cartoonishness kind of worked, although I totally understand why it didn't for you guys. I think that major, whatever his rank is, I think his whole speech is really damning on himself and on the government and on society as a whole. Yep. And I think that speech is really pivotal, but not in a way of like, defending what's happening, but more like condemning what's happening.
Yeah, I think his speech is really laying out what the rottenness that's at the core of the entire system.
Absolutely.
Which is like, well, since there's nothing that can happen, why should we even care? And he doesn't go so far as to say that, because he's like O.J. Fox is like, you weren't there, like, she was screaming and this and that. And he's like, you don't tell me about screaming. That's when he really turns.
And he snaps.
And the implication there is like, I've heard so many young American boys
exactly
crying,
that's what he says.
Their lives matter more than these Vietnamese people.
Exactly.
You're telling me about one woman screaming.
Like, who gives a shit about one woman?
Right, correct. Which as opposed to the real zoom out is, this whole thing is fucked. Like,
yes.
Right. Like, it's not good that 17-year-old kids are getting their legs blown off for no good fucking reason. That's horrible. And the movie makes that point with the cherry who ends up getting blown, sets the trap off, right? And he's annoying. And they treat him like shit. The next second he's killed. Brownie is the other guy. It's when Brownie randomly gets shot at the very beginning of the movie and his chest blows up. It's like, that's horrible. Like, it's all shit. It's all, to quote, I'm already in a world of shit. The whole thing is fucked. The whole thing is morally fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Morally bankrupt.
War is morally fucked. This whole thing, this violence is morally fucked.
Well,
and
I do think it's
her
interesting.
life is as valuable as any 1,000 Americans, and one American's life is as valuable as any 1,000 Vietnamese people, because nobody should be fucking dying. Nobody should be dying for this.
But I do
you
think
don't get to just say, well, there's only justice for the many and not for the few, and there's only justice for the few and not for the many. Everybody should be treated equally, and that's not happening here. And
no, I do think it's interesting though. It does. There's a moment where you think Michael J. Fox is going to forget it. He's not going to go through with it, and he's going to the bathroom, and wackadoo throws a grenade in the bathroom, right? And because he knows that this guy's that Michael J. Fox is a liability. When Michael J. Fox realizes that they just tried to kill him, and I do really like the scene where he just walks in with a shovel and just blasts him in the face.
It's a very cathartic moment.
It is a very cathartic moment because you're waiting for that this entire time.
As violent as it is, I just condemned violence in all its forms.
Hey man, that guy deserved to get hit in the face with a shovel.
Anybody ever deserved to get hit
with a shit-covered shovel?
Fucking shovel.
That's what that shovel was used for.
I just wanted him to keep swinging on them all. Fuck it.
They all deserve to get hit. But I do think that it's not until his life is put on the line that he's like, okay, now
you know what's so twisted about that scene is that's the first moment that Sean Penn respects him.
Absolutely, he does,
because he's a fucking monster. He's gross,
and so he's like, he looks at him like, oh, I didn't know you had that in. He doesn't say anything, but that's the look.
Nope, but you see it.
You know that look.
Yeah,
and then when he throws the shovel at him, he's like, yeah, okay.
He's like, oh, this guy might be all right now.
Yeah, maybe, right. Maybe we shouldn't kill you, right? It's like he's having second thoughts about killing him.
That's pretty. Yeah, that's a great.
And it's
call.
really, but the thing is, like, even after that act of violence, the defeat, because he's like, you don't have to kill me.
No,
they all know.
Nobody cares.
Nobody fucking cares.
That's a great scene from him, from Michael J. Fox, where he's
he delivers it. He's like, nobody cares.
None of this.
I've told everybody. Everybody knows everything, and nobody cares.
And then when they court-martialed all four of them,
there is an optimism in this movie, though, as bleak as it is.
A little bit. The
optimism is all it takes is one person who cares, and it's not Michael J. Fox. It's that chaplain.
Yes.
Oh,
the one guy who hears the story and goes, "No,
wait a minute, no,
no, we got to do something about this."
Yeah,
Yeah.
So that's the one, like, one.
Well, I think in that defense, though, Michael J. Fox feels defeated because he did.
Yes.
Did he not?
Yes.
Did he stop what happened? No.
I just don't. His character does not deserve, nor does the movie think, nor does he think as a character he should be let off the hook.
No,
that's
he
correct.
Does not.
Yeah,
he absolutely does not. Yeah,
but it just took one person who has some kind of moral character.
Yeah,
to go and enough power because you need both to be like, this isn't right. We got to do something with this. And even then, it was a fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even when they go back and find her body, and the major's like, "This is what you want, huh? Great. Now we got to deal with it." You know, it's just like, God damn, bro. Like, you're looking at this woman's body, and you're just like, "Fuck my life." Like,
I will tell you though that I've seen this one before, but the movie is successful because the first time he goes to that guy, the ultimate superior in the field, I'm with him, just like, God damn, I'm hoping that this guy wants to do so. I know he's
because
he does.
He does. He even has a moment where he's just like, I hear you. Like, I know why you're here.
Yeah, but that's a blow off. That's
absolutely is a blow off. But there is a moment.
Very assessed of the situation. So that is just jargon.
He does. Yeah, he does not give a shit at all.
Oh, no.
To tell him.
And even when they go to those train tracks, like I said, and they look down and the look on his face where he was like, "Are you kidding me? Like now I've got to do something."
Like we had to come out all the way out here to get this lady's body.
Right.
Yeah. That's what he's thinking. Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
And then because it's his words that replay, but he's wrong because they all actually got time and.
Yeah,
but they fought him tooth and nail, and of course he's.
We talk about how Body Double kind of is the only one that has a
happy ending.
Like even in this one where he sees the woman
getting a drill put through her guts, and
I know, right?
I know.
That's the happy ending.
But he got the job
because Holly Body's happy on set. Of
exactly, it's really all about Holly Body.
Vampire's kiss. But like even at this, where like okay. The four guys were sentenced. One, Sean Penn's going away for the rest of his life. No, Hatcher's going away for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
But no, and it's day for day. Like it sounds like it's not, hard labor. It's not going to be just like a little bit of a slap on the wrist. Michael J. Fox is going home, and he sees a woman on the bus who looks very similar to the woman that he found and that he tried to save in Vietnam. And she forgets her like scarf or like jacket or something. He runs it out to her. They have a like an exchange, and she's like, "Oh, you were dreaming about somebody."
Well, because he speaks, I think he calls
speaks
her a woman's name or says something in Vietnamese, and she's like, "I don't know you."
Yeah, and she was like, you were. I think she like you were somewhere else.
Yes,
and he's like, "Yeah," and it's like, yes, he got home. Yes, those guys are going to jail. But this is with him for the rest of his life.
And we're also supposed to take that, I think, to mean like, well, maybe there's a little absolution there for him.
Oh, see, I didn't.
Exactly.
I took that as like
now
now he's going to deal with PTSD. I was thinking of like all of the mental stuff that is going.
Oh, that's in the real world.
No, but she says you were dreaming. She says, I think your nightmare is over now.
Correct.
And he's like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And it ends on like a happy note with happy music as he's, the sunny palm trees and
Correct. Yeah.
That's fair.
I don't buy that.
I took it as like,
no, I don't buy that ending either. Somebody added that ending.
Yeah.
This isn't testing very well, Brian. Can
I don't buy
something.
Right. I know.
It's fine that that bookends the movie. It's fine that he could have an interaction with her, but her unknowingly giving him absolution for getting another Vietnamese woman who looks just like her is almost its own form of racism.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's so racist. Assuming she speaks Vietnamese is racist. Like,
yeah.
God.
It's like one of those like, it's like I see what you were trying to do.
Right.
But this
it doesn't quite work.
This is
you took a swing and you hit you ground it out, but
because Joe, I think what you thought would be a better ending, like the fact that he's stuck with PTSD and guilt and all of this. Although the one thing I will say, I think this film does a surprisingly good job of not exploiting the girl who's being raped, in that when she's being raped, the camera pulls back. You don't, it turns into a Dutch angle.
True.
You don't see her. So it's trying to minimize, Brian De Palma's trying to minimize as much as possible. So you're not, triggered watching this, which I very much respect and appreciate. But at the same time, you don't really get her point of view, and which in other movies that deal with rape, you do. And so, this is really Michael J. Fox's story, which makes sense to a degree, of course, but it's also, there's something, as much as I liked this, there's also something really kind of icky and uncomfortable about the fact that we're still othering her, even though he's on her side and trying to do the right thing, even though he's not doing enough. And so it's like, so I have conflicting feelings about this.
It's a messy movie, like all of
it's a messy
movies,
movie, right? Exactly, for a very, very, very messy
for
situation.
Multiple reasons.
One of the things that De Palma said as we bring this one to a close was that he kind of viewed Michael J. Fox as the character as like almost like a stand-in for hippies who had moral objections but didn't really take real action.
Yeah.
Right? That they didn't really do enough to do anything to change
Does
society.
he fire a weapon once in this movie?
He does, to give warning to blow their cover so they can't kill her.
But he doesn't fire that, like, the gun that he's carrying for the most part. Because he's carrying like that missile launcher.
Yeah, he does shoot the missile launcher because he shoots a grenade down. He's like, Sarge, I got it.
Yes, that's right.
That's a low key kind of funny moment where he's like, holy shit, I can't believe I did it.
Yeah.
Because he shoots a grenade out of the air. Like, it's kind of a ridiculous shot.
Yeah.
But I do think that's interesting. He doesn't fire a single shot at someone.
I think he does though, doesn't he?
I thought he did too, but does he not?
I don't know.
But
does he shoot the guy in the tree? Isn't there a
so
guy
much
in
violence in this movie?
I know. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I feel terrible. I'm not sure.
But I you can kind of see that though, right? Is like he's a moral objector.
Yes.
He raises his voice. He lets them know, like, we're not fucking doing this, man.
Right.
But like, he doesn't do anything.
Right.
He's like a Twitter activist.
That is interesting because there are some who would say speaking out is enough of activism. So it is, and he says we're not supposed to be here. We're here. We're supposed to help them. I thought we were supposed to help them. So it is a great, debate. Like, is that enough? Is speaking out enough? Or is that just bullshit and not enough?
Yeah, right. And I think like the argument the movie's going to make is the system's going to do everything in its power to incentivize you to just say nothing or just leave it at words. Okay, you said it. We know that's enough now. Don't push it further than that. Okay, we heard your story. We got it. We got a report. But we're done. And he's, he has to the only moral thing he can do is to continue to push it forward.
Right.
But the real moral thing that he should have done was get her the fuck out of there.
Absolutely.
And he didn't do it.
No.
And it's not to say that like the movie doesn't try to like, he's like, what the fuck? I can't.
Well, he does do that. He cuts her loose. And they're getting ready to leave.
With her.
And then he says, like, I can't go. Like, I'll be AWOL. Like, I can't leave.
Right.
And he's like, go. You go. Like, get out of here.
But it's too late.
It's too late.
Yeah. And I think she's too
she's too
wounded.
banged up. And she's also sick.
She's sick. She's traumatized. Like, no. But I think you're absolutely right, Jason. I also think the kind of brilliance of this film is it reminds me very much of The Zone of Interest in that it shows how easy being silent and complicit is. It's much harder.
Man.
That's a hard scene where he's like,
much harder to speak out. It's much harder to keep pushing as in, no, this is not right. No, we're not doing this. No, this is wrong. This is not okay.
Yeah. When he's like, you're going to back me up. He's like, yep. You're going to back me up. Yep.
What a piece of shit. Disgusting.
What a piece of shit.
Erickson comes to him. He's like, he comes to Michael J. Fox. He's like, we're not doing this, man. He's like, you'll back me up, right? Michael J. Fox is like, yeah, I'll back you up. And then later, Michael J. Fox is like, okay, we still got each other's back, right? He's like, yeah, man. We'll put a stop.
I'm not doing this, man. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this.
And then he just fucking folds like
like a yep.
Yeah, he just folds, and you're just like, and then he sells. Oh, it's awful.
Yep,
it's awful. All right. I give this one an 8 out of 10. It's my number 4 for the week. It's messy. I think its intentions are in the right place, but it's I don't like Sean Penn.
I don't like it either. Well, Megan, I'll defer to you as well.
I was going to say, I think Sean Penn is a trash human. He's an awful person and he's an awful actor. But enough of his performance did work for me here. I think this is absolutely such a scathing indictment on indifference and on society. Again, it's tapping into so many of De Palma's themes that are so cynical but so potent and so powerful and important, and just man's inhumanity to others. It's so even though this is messy, I think it's doing so much that really is done well.
Yeah.
And the visuals are stunning, like so many of his other films. So I give this an 8.4, and this is my third of the week.
Oh my God, I'm such a dick. I give this a 6.25. It is my number 5 of the week.
Oh.
But it's not, again, it is a... Megan, I think you're absolutely right. I think every single one of these movies are fantastic. This was the one I had the least fun watching.
Oh, no, this is not fun.
It's not a fun movie. I think I agree that Sean Penn's performance completely ruins this entire thing for me. If that's anybody else, even if it's Sean Penn with not a stupid ass accent,
that's more.
I think it bumps it up at least a point.
And he's got Charlie.
He's always got a big old thing of chew in his mouth. I think
he clearly had a vision for his character.
Clearly, and Stephen Baldwin was like, "What the fuck?
Yeah, what's this guy doing?"
you know you're in trouble when Stephen Baldwin's
Joker.
Like, look at this guy.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Brian De Palma was like, "You don't tell Sean Penn how to do his job." That's what he said. It was Brian De Palma
absurd.
Physically assaulted him over this performance. This was what De Palma was like. No,
right?
This is the vision.
This is cinema. This is gold. You're gonna listen to Sean Penn.
Don't you fuck with his game?
Yeah, that's it. It is my least favorite of the week. But that doesn't mean it's a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination. It is not.
Nope. All right, let's do a little recap and get the fuck out of here. Coming in dead last for me is, I think, Sisters. Is that right?
It's your list, brother.
I guess 7.5 out of 10. Still liked it though. Casualties of War 8 out of 10 is my number 4. Number 3 is Body Double 8.25. It's real fucking weird. It's a real weird movie.
It's real weird.
Like, I feel kind of bad being like, yeah, go check it out. I don't know that you should.
No, I think it needs to be seen to be believed.
I think it absolutely needs to be. It's on it's funny. Bracket.
That's the sort of thing that though, like you give to like, I hate to use this term.
Normies.
The normies. They're like, what is wrong with you? And you're like, oh no, it's great, man.
This had a very limited release on Blu-ray, and Bracket had like 2 of them, and I have wanted to buy one of them from him for years.
We're talking about Body Double?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's crazy expensive now.
I'm not a vet of Vietnam, but I'm a vet of movies. That's my personal Vietnam.
That's fair.
And I'm like, fair. Man, you ever seen Body Double, man?
We shouldn't even be here, man.
Shit, man. I saw it. I watched the drill go right through her, man.
I don't even know why I'm watching this, man.
You ever seen Sean Connery drag his own intestines across the floor when they're playing the fucking opera, man? I did.
I've been there, man.
The Untouchables, 1987, 8.5. It's my number 2. And Blowout, 8.75, going on the short list. And Megan, what's your recap?
All right. My number 5 is Body Double at 7.9. It is a delightful weirdo film that I will definitely watch again.
Yeah.
Number 4, Sisters at 8.3. Casualties of War is number 3. I gave that an 8.5. I think I said 8.4 before. I meant 8.5. Number 2 is The Untouchables, 8.6. And that could have been higher because of my nostalgia for it. But I still think it is a solid, great film. And number 1 is Blowout with 9.1. What a brilliant film. I think that is the culmination. That and Carrie are the culmination of Brian De Palma's masterful skills as a visual storyteller. And his themes of voyeurism and obsession.
I think they are
back to back.
Was it Carrie then Blowout back to back?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because Carrie's isn't Carrie 78 or is it 79?
I think Carrie's 78. Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah,
that's 1-2.
That's a 1-2 punch, baby. That's good stuff.
All right, Joe.
So my number 5 was Casualties of War at 6.25. My number 4 was Sisters. Please do yourself a favor, go find that Simpsons episode because it's great. At 6.75. My number 3 was The Untouchables at 7.25. My number 2 was Body Double. Again, go watch it. Like, it is worth your time to watch that. If you enjoy it, again, go watch Maxine. It's very similar from a flip side. It's the movie that it's the Holly Body movie rather than the wormy
double feature.
It's a very good double feature. And I gave that at 8.5. And then my number 1, unanimous at a 9.25 is Blowout.
On our very next episode, we'll talk about the 10 through 6 highest grossing films of 2007. Big old change of pace here with 300, National Treasure, Book of Secrets, The Simpsons movie, I Am Legend, and Ratatouille.
Ooh!
That's not a bad lineup.
Kevin Brackett and Claire.
Oh, I know that guy.
W Rated will be on there. Guys, you're not talking to me for 4 hours about Brian De Palma into the middle of the night on a Monday.
Hey, man, there's always a part 2 because there's more stuff we can talk about. We can talk about all kinds of...
I feel like we could have gone on for another probably 3 or 4 hours.
I'm not talking about Dress to Kill.
We're all yawning. We're all passing out at our mics. But honestly, I sincerely say this. I've never recorded a podcast for 3.5 hours, for almost 3:43. And I felt like I barely scratched the surface on a director's themes and ideas.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure we did this guy justice.
I'm not sure either.
We did as best we could in 4 hours. I've never said that,
especially talking to Megan. Like, we usually get down to it. But I think this guy's just got a lot going on, man.
He does.
Mm-hmm.
Too much. You almost got a
fella.
You could probably do a couple hours on like just Body Double, I think. So
Dress to Kill is the one that I think you could do a lot of work on.
Well,
I'm not doing it.
Megan and Molly and Sally Joe Black and other scholars do that work for us because I'm not.
No thanks.
No thanks. I've seen it. I've seen it. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. I prefer
Nancy Allen.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Joe, where can we find you?
You can find me over on Real Spoilers.
Jane Black. Sally Jane Black, right, Megan?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry.
Get it right.
Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you. Over on Real Spoilers, we're on the Twitter, all that stuff. Real Spoilers, real with 2 E's. We do have a Patreon that we are currently doing the SNL spinoff movies, given the new SNL biopic. Maybe.
That's a spinoff. You got to do It's Pat.
Oh, I'm well aware that it's a spinoff. I don't know. We just did Blues Brothers, so there's the first one. So yeah, you can find us over on Patreon, Real Spoilers with the same stuff. You can follow me on the Twitter at Joey Butts, BUTTS21, and on Letterboxd at the same.
Megan and I are actually going to be doing a Mad TV movie spinoff over on her Patreon for Spoilerpiece Theater.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
How many of those are there?
0.
I don't know. I was like, that's news to
me. Mad TV never got any movies.
I was like, we got to get on it.
Where can we find you?
You can find me each week at Spoilerpiece Theater. You can find us wherever you get podcasts. You can also find us at spoilerpiece.com. We also have a Patreon that you can check out, patreon.com/spoilerpiece. You can also find me and Jason over at the Slashers podcast, where we talk about the golden age of slashers. along with our good friend Paul. And you can also find me. I write film reviews. I write for Edge Media Network as well as other outlets. And you can find me on social media. I'm on Twitter at Opinioness World and on Instagram and Letterboxd at The Opinioness. Yep.
Follow Megan, support everything she does. Follow Joe, support some of what he does.
Not all of
it. Buy his feet pics.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Given the acclaim for them now, I feel like I should start doing it.
That's right. He's a single father.
Get on that.
I have hobbit feet. So
people are into
hobbit
that.
Feet.
Yeah.
Both of you get on it. There's a community for that.
I shave my feet. It's true. Oh my God. I can't believe I just admitted that. Jesus Christ.
I'll cut that out for you. It's late, folks. We gotta go. Till next time. Binge on.